Gate 20, line 1. This is the foundation of the 20th gate, which is the gate of contemplation, the gate of the now. And we find in the line 1, superficiality. Makes me want to go a bit Mary Poppins. This is supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Superficiality. The foundation, the basic nature of the gate of contemplation is superficiality, and the lifetime learning says a reliance on shallowness. Interesting, huh? Got any word prejudice around this one? It's something that sort of can change our perception, isn't it? Because we might tend to associate superficiality with being shallow, and that's not what we associate with being in the now, because that's all kind of existential and kind of elevated and kind of, special. And yet, when we think about it, the now is right here. It's on the surface. Really, it's just here. Being in the now isn't something that we have to even really think about, because we just are in the now. It's not something over there in a place we're never going to reach. We're in it all the time. We're never anywhere other than now. And so in that sense, it's actually very mundane and ordinary, here every moment of the day. So if you rely on the shallowness, it means that you're not going to miss it, because it's right there on the surface. In the exaltation, we have the raising of superficiality to an art form, the sloganeer, superficial expression as an art form. If you're really good in the now, everybody notices. These are guys who have incredible peripheral vision. They know what's going on around them all the time. It's a real gift. It's also one of the ways of the warrior, the physical warrior, the soldier, the professional athlete, the capacity to be on the surface of the now all the time, to know what's around you, to know that the ball is coming at you from over here, even though you're not looking over here. The detriment says the superficial expression of the personality, the expression of the superficial personality. You might wonder, I don't know if you've ever wondered why there are sometimes two sentences, there are always two sentences, but sometimes they seem to repeat each other. So the first one is always taken from the I Ching, from the Rave I Ching, and the second comes from what is called the White Book. And so there are two, sometimes there are just slightly different nuances to how Ra has this written. So I always say both of them, just so that you have the full picture, and then you pour out of it what it is that you want to pull out of it. So the superficial expression of the personality. Ra says that it's the same thing, really, as the exaltation. It's the first line saying, I am here now in this world, in this moment, in this place. We are kind of conditioned to want to go deep, and we can see it as a failing. It's a judgment when we say someone is superficial or shallow, but it's not for everybody to go deep. There is definitely a time to stay shallow, to keep with the mundane. If you live out your nature, you're healthy. If you're meant to stay on the surface, it's not a handicap to do that. It's actually a gift of the potential mastery of knowing what the surface level actually is. Ra tells us that everybody in their lives must live out what is there without qualifying them according to some kind of arbitrary moralistic measurement. None of us are broken. We don't have to bring our morality and judgment to a line. Instead, we can recognize that we don't need to cure or fix our lines. We can just live them out. Think about cats, because they can really help us understand the nature of this line. Cats just sit around in the now. They're fairly disinterested, or so it seems. They're just sitting there. But are they really disinterested? Because really, it's in that being superficial, being on the surface like that looks very shallow. They are alert. Their antennae are ready. And whatever comes at them, the cat is going to be ready. It's very unusual you can catch a cat off guard. So it's not about walking around in the now, trying to be good and holy and acting to whatever our idea of living in the now is all about. You know, we could wear a cardigan and talk very softly like the lovely Eckhart Tolle. It's gorgeous. We could try to emulate that, but well, do we need to? This is a recognition that you are always in the now. And so you can just go about your life. The 20 is grounded in gate 34, and gate 34 is both the polarity to the 20 and a harmonic in the channel, or one of them. As we know, the 20 is quite a complex gate. So this means we have a channel. The whole time that the sun is in 20, we have this channel to the 34. And it's the channel of charisma. It is a design where thoughts must become deeds, and it is the only pure manifesting generator channel. It's very quick, it's very powerful. You might have heard about the sacral voice, or the guidance system that generators have that comes from their sacral and is their response to life, and is often a grunt and is often conditioned out of them because parents don't want grunting children. Gate 34 is in the sacral. It's the only sacral to throat connection, so it can actually say yes. Whereas the sacral to the other gates, you know, it tends to be more of that or an energetic feeling. This can actually be a yes. It can also just be a movement, because the 2034 does move very quickly. So, you know, instead of saying yes or the response is the movement. There's a lot of energy in this channel. There's a lot of power in this channel. Gate 34 is the gate of power. And the 34 line 1, wait for it, this is called the bully. We have a superficial bully with this channel. Only a bully on the surface, do you think? Only a superficial bully. What would that look like? Deep down, maybe they're really kind and gentle and tolerant. How does this ground the gate of contemplation in the now? Does it feel like a juxtaposition that the gate of power should actually be grounding the gate of the now? Perhaps we need to feel very powerful in order to stand in our shallowness. First lines, remember the genetic continuity, and there is fear in the first lines of sort of genetic continuity. And this is integration. This circuit that we are dealing, it's not a circuit, it's a sort of a channel of integration that we're dealing with here. And there are themes of survival within integration. So this first line is investigating the fears so that we can survive in the now. A show of power may seem very bullying. It may be very bullying, especially if someone is in opposition to something that we want to express or experience. But that same show of power can also hold us firm when we're coming up against others and their conditioning or their expectations of what our shallowness looks like and how we should be deeper. And of course, please, I do not condone bullying in any form. And this is an exploration only of the lines that we're finding here in the I Ching. Please, do take it in the spirit in which it is offered. Feels important to say that, because bullying is not to be taken lightly, and I don't mean it to be taken lightly in any way. At 10:43, Mars moves into gate 51 and meets Neptune in gate 25 to give us the channel of initiation again. This is a channel that we may be quite familiar with now, as the sun was here not too long ago. So look out for people putting themselves first, perhaps being shocking in an immature expression of their need to be first, because Mars can be a little bit immature. The moon is in the gate of continuity, gate 32. This is the splenic gate still. A little while here yet, and it's bringing us the acceptance of change, as long as that change doesn't upset the equilibrium of the tribe too much. And then it moves into gate 50 at 1624, and here it meets Mercury. Mercury is in gate 27, so we have the channel of preservation here, bringing a focus to the values that we have in society and as a society. It's a nurturing energy. It wants to persevere No, it doesn't. It wants to preserve, very similar word, wants to preserve the infrastructure of the community. And preserve, oh goodness. Okay, forget that. At 3:30, the moon moves into gate 28. And this is where we find a fear of dying before we have found our purpose in life. So it's not necessarily fear of dying per se, but it's, what is our purpose? Can we really let go of this form before we fulfilled our purpose? This is an individual gate. It doesn't want to be told what its purpose is. It wants to find it for itself. It doesn't want to be influenced. No, it's walking its own path. It's banging its own drum. That's our weather for today. Thank you for joining me. Go gently on your own path. Go gently on your way, and I will see you tomorrow.